Wishing all of you a very good afternoon and welcome to upGrad Abroad's webinar on kickstarting Australian bachelors in India. Super thrilled to be hosting you guys, and we hope you're ready with your questions about education and pursuing your bachelors in Australia. We have three very interesting set of universities in Australia to be talking about. Number one is the Russo Business School. Second is James Cook University in Brisbane, and third is the Griffith University in Brisbane. We're going to be introducing to you an interesting pathway option that you have to accelerate or expedite your entry into Australia as a student, and to make sure that you have and you build a lucrative business career for yourself in Australia. We'll talk about pathways. We will talk about some of the best universities in Australia. We will talk about the teaching pedagogy in Australia. We'll teach about, we will talk about the methodology used in Australian universities. We will talk about part-time work, about work integrated learning, about everything relevant that you guys need to know about starting your life as a student in Australia. We're joined here by Stephanie Hunter, Jennifer, and Quentin from Russo Business School. We've got Shrikant and Mr. Abraham from James Cook University in Brisbane, joining us all the way from Australia. So we welcome all of you and are super thrilled to be launching our maiden program with Russo Business School, James Cook, and Griffith University. We're just going to wait for another 1 minute for all of us together. We're waiting for a couple of more attendees to join in, and as soon as they're here, we will start right away. Also, would love for you to for all of you to know that we're being live streamed on Facebook as well, and this webinar shall also go down in our YouTube library, which has over 120,000 subscribers watching this. So I think another 1 minute and we shall start right away. Also, I think to add a bit of context, I think Australia is one of the most robust and resilient economies in the world. We all had the chance to witness that during the last 2 years, how it has stayed resilient in the face of COVID, how it has managed to keep its economy as robust as ever. So Australia, undeniably so, remains as one of the key countries in the world for Indian students to study and build a successful career in. We'll talk about Queensland more. We'll talk about the different ways you can apply for an Australian university. We'll talk about how early can you apply for an Australian university, and if you want to start in India, how does that help you? We're on time. I think the first thing that I'd want to do is ask Stephanie, as the leader of Russo, and Shrikant as the James Cook University country head, to introduce themselves, after which we will officially start the webinar. So over to you, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. Really excited to be here this afternoon to talk to you about Russo Business School. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and we've got an exciting concept to talk to you about how you can start your course in India before coming to Australia to finish off your bachelor's degree.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. This is Shrikant Deshmukh here. I'm the International Marketing Director for James Cook University, Brisbane. And we are very, very excited to present to you a brand new program in partnership with upGrad, and looking forward to your questions and your engagement in the session.
Thanks, Stephanie and Shrikant. For all the attendees to know, I think we're not going to be only just talking about the nuances of an Australian higher ed degree, but also talking to you about how affordable can you make an Australian degree. For all the attendees to know, I think the first thing that I'd like to do is introduce upGrad and its mission in the world. So upGrad is a higher education platform funded by the World Bank's IFC arm. What we're trying to do is make some of the top ranked, high ranked, supreme ranked universities in the world more affordable, accessible, and democratized for Indian students. What that means is we understand that at an undergraduate level, there's a lot of fear that surrounds a bachelor degree abroad. You're not ready, you're academically not mature enough, you feel that you may make the wrong subject or course choices, you feel that it's way too expensive for you to get a return in the next 3 or 4 years. And finally, you don't know how to convince your mom and dad that it's actually worth all the money and that you will end up with a successful career in the country you're actually going. So we will address all of that. That is what upGrad's foremost role is, to ensure that you spend the first year in India or a couple of months in India for you to ease into the academic rigor, for you to get a sense of how the Australian or US or UK education looks like, to get a taste of it. So by the time you transfer on campus, you're very well aware of how you're going to champion academic and your work life abroad. So one of our pathway partners with this is the Russo Business School in Brisbane. One point that you guys should know prior to us starting to have a dialogue with Stephanie and Shrikant and their teams is that a regular Australian degree is of 24 subjects, 8 every year. So when you're trying to study 8 every year, a pathway option allows you to study some of those 24 or some of these 8 in India and then immediately move on campus. So you complete a part of the curriculum in India and then complete the rest on campus. I think my first question to throw more light on this context is going to be to Stephanie. Would love to know from you, how can students actually trust the integrity of offshore learning, and how does this help them on when it comes to affordability, when it comes to the intellectual maturity, when it comes to the choice making that they finally have to make on which state or which university do they want to finally graduate from?
Okay, so the benefit of Russo Business School and starting offshore is we will provide you a taste of what university studies like, but in a more applied and personal way. We provide a lot of technologically enabled learning. So we've got very interactive programs and how we, I guess, support you on that learning journey as you're starting off into university studies. And one of the benefits of starting with a diploma is that you're not being thrown into a large pool of students. With Russo Business School, you will be with a smaller cohort of students. You will have local Indian tutors. And so you will be able to have support when you need it. Your learning materials will be available 24/7, so you don't need to be having to come into a campus to access your library or to access a teacher or sit in a classroom. You will be able to do that online at times organised between you and your tutor. But as part of our accreditation process in Australia, we have to ensure that what the education we provide overseas also meets our standards in Australia. So it has to be equal to what we are delivering in Australia, and therefore you're very much prepared when you go into your degree program, because you'll have that foundation knowledge the same as a person that's on campus will have received.
Absolutely. I think we'd love to know about the affordability factor. How much does a regular Australian bachelor's degree cost if I were to study on campus from day one, Stephanie?
I have a slide to show that if you'd like me to share my screen and flick to that.
Sure.
I will just need to scroll through because it was one of the very final slides in our pack. So what this shows is that if you start online, not only are you saving on your tuition fee cost, you're also saving on your cost of living in Australia, that relocation expense. So if you'll see there with our partnership with upGrad, and Praneet or Shrikant can convert this into Indian currency, you're getting a very large discount. So it's 4,400 Australian dollars compared to $9,800 if you're studying on campus. But not only that, you've also halved your living expenses by doing the first half of the Russo Business course at home in India, compared to being in Australia. So there's a very large saving there, as you'll see from the bottom line, on doing it, partnering with upGrad and then coming on campus, as opposed to starting at Russo Business School, or indeed going straight into a Bachelor of Business at either Griffith or JCU. So I think you can see the affordability there, Praneet.
Sure. So for all the attendees to know, a regular Australian degree would at least cost you about 17 to 18 lakhs a year, which can stretch all the way to 20 to 25 lakhs, depending on which university do you wish to finally go to. When it comes to that, that means for all of the 24 subjects, 8 every year that you're studying at the university, the final cost of a degree can go as high as about 65 to 70 lakhs. With Russo Business School's option that is available to you guys with upGrad, you actually covered the first 4 out of the 8 subjects in India in 2.5 lakhs. The next 4 in close to about 5.5 lakhs. Together in 8 lakhs, you're studying the complete 1 year, 4 months in India, 4 months on campus in Australia, and you're done with the year 1 credits, which allows you to go into James Cook and Griffith, both of which are going to be taken through by Shrikant and by the team here. But the most important thing is you're almost saving close to 12 lakhs of rupees on the first year. And not only that, you're saving money, but also understanding, like Stephanie mentioned, which university or which course or which kind of an academic structure you're the most suitable for. My next question to you, Stephanie, is what are some of the challenges that students face in Australia in a regular degree that can be avoided through a pathway? Or that, I mean, what are the stringent admission criteria that they have to adhere to, which a pathway offers in a much more relaxed way?
So a diploma, our Diploma of Business has, I guess, slightly lower entrance requirements than potentially a degree course has. So you need an average in the Indian final grade, I'm not sure what the qualification's called, and an IELTS of 5.5 or equivalent, with no lower than 5. So that's, it's more accessible than many degree programs in terms of the entrance criteria. But most importantly, I think, in what we're doing with our diploma is it's very applied, and it's very much about exciting students about learning about business and also having a supported pathway into higher education. So they're having potentially more time with teaching staff, as well as just a more supported environment, even in terms of the support services that we offer that might be more accessible than in a larger organisation as well. Some of the things that students find difficult when they first come into university is learning about the foundations, learning about how to write academically, how to do things that we need, that universities expect you to be able to do from day one, that sometimes students aren't so familiar with. And so one of the beauties of a diploma course is that we have the time to take you through those requirements as well. And our program also offers the fundamentals of business as well as those generic skills. So we're teaching things like economics, data analysis, communications, marketing, management, all those very general foundational skills that will really set you up to succeed in any bachelor's program that you want to pursue.
Absolutely. I think once more to summarize to everybody who's here, the Rbs Diploma Program shall be a 4 months long program that allows them to enter into 2 universities in Australia. Within 4 months, you're off to cover the rest of the year of the rest of the subjects in year 1, and then you finally transition to one of the 2 universities that are allowed to you, not only saving about 12 to 15 lakhs of rupees, but having that extra 6 months to plan your finances, having that extra 6 months to actually plan which is the final university you want to end up graduating from, and to choose the right kind of final specialization that you're going to be doing when you finally pursue your studies in Australia. I think Stephanie would love to know what are some of the subjects that they're going to be learning in the first 4 months when they're going to be in India, and how early can they start? And when we're talking about especially those students who are still in their grade 12.
Okay, so what I've put up here is a little bit of an overview of our program. So what we're doing is actually quite innovative. It's a different way of delivering a diploma, and certainly we think this is going to really help to encourage or excite students about learning, but also make it easier for them to engage and succeed. So what we've done is we've grouped like subjects together into what we're calling clusters. And these clusters are 2 subjects studied at a time over a 5-week period, with then a break for some assessment at the end, final assessment, and then generally a break before they start on the next 2 subjects. So that's a different model to what you'd find in universities, where they generally do 3 subjects per trimester or 4 subjects over a 12-week semester. So what we're expecting with this is that students will actually understand then the connectedness between business disciplines. So our first cluster, and this is the cluster that we would start with upGrad, is called Professional Skills for Business. So this is about developing those academic skills and theoretical and basic business skills, and also how to communicate in a business setting. So that can be in a digital sense, a variety of different ways that we communicate now. So it's not necessarily writing memos or any of those type of things. It's more contemporary in how you would communicate in a business environment. And Jennifer can talk some more about this because she's our program development officer. And then the second cluster, which you would do after you finish the first one, you have a couple of weeks break, move into the second one, and that's managing and marketing a business. So once again, we're talking about managing people, managing change, and also how you would market, how you understand your customers, and how you market to those to achieve success. The model then is that you would then transfer to Australia over a break of where we allow a 4-week break to transfer to Australia, where you would do some of the subjects which we believe really benefit from intensive face-to-face contact with a person and with a lecturer in Australia. And they are data analytics and decision-making for business, where we cover data analysis and management and economics. And then finally, finance and legal essentials for business, which includes accounting and business essentials. It should actually be a law business law. And these 2 subjects are based around Australian accounting standards and Australian business law, which is why we think they're best done face-to-face in Australia, because they will require quite a bit of support. Then moving on to the next part of your question, Praneet. So this steps it out in a bit more of a graphical sense. So cluster 1 and 2, which were the professional skills for business and the marketing and managing a business, can be done online at home in India. You would then transition to Russo Business School in Brisbane, where you would do cluster 3 and 4 on campus. So they're the ones that we think there is that real benefit in having that much more supported Australian campus experience. You would then graduate if you successfully completed those 8 subjects and be able to transition into an Australian university of your choice at that point in time with advanced standing. As we mentioned, we do have formal articulation agreements with James Cook University and with Griffith University, but you are able to actually transfer or apply to go to any university in Australia, and you will be able to apply for credit. You can commence this as early as the 30th of May this year online in India. And if you successfully completed, you would be able to transition to Australia in September and then move straight into a bachelor's degree in trimester 1, which would be February or March at an Australian university. If you started in September, that's the next time we'll have an intake. You'd start on the 19th of September, transition to Australia in January, and then finish off the final 4 subjects, and then transition into Australian University in their second trimester, which would be around May 2023.
Got that. I think what's more important for everybody to know is to even start your Australian bachelor's degree in India, at this point, we are not in need of your final class 12th or your board examination result. We just need your term 1 result. If your term 1 result is beyond 60%, you can start your Australian degree, and the first 4 out of the 8 subjects that you're required to do in year 1 already in India starting May 30th. If you start on May 30th, you actually transition to the RBS campus to complete the rest 4 of the subjects in September. And in February, you actually enter the second year at James Cook or Griffith. So within 8 months is the amount of expedited completion of your degree that we offer. 1 year within 8 months. That's one thing. The second thing is the eligibility requirements have been extremely lowered. At the end of the day, in your class 12, you have to prove that you're getting at least 50% marks in your term 2. That is what we eventually need. And I think the RBS model gives you a great time-saving option also. I'd love to go to Shrikant at this point and would love to ask him, now that the board examination dates have been delayed, if we're expecting as an Indian student that the board results should come anytime between July 15th, to the end of the month, which is the next best intake that these kids can take for a regular Australian degree, Shrikant?
Good question, Pranit. So the beauty of studying at JCU is that we have 3 intakes in a year, which means you can start either in February, May, or September. So if they get their results in July and they can commence the RBS program by September, they can actually start their JCU, bachelor in May next year. So they can actually be in Australia, commence their bachelor degree in as little as 6 months.
Got that. And if there's somebody who does not opt for RBS and can only start officially after getting the visa, how would that look like for a student who's graduating 12th in July?
You mean someone who's wanting to start a bachelor directly after the year 12?
Absolutely, yes. And considering that the board result will be out by, say, about the end of July, which is the right intake that they could be looking at?
Well, in that case, they could technically go earlier. That is in February, but obviously they need to meet the higher entry requirement for the bachelor program, both academically as well as from English perspective. So if they meet that, they can pretty much go. But for those who can't make it to the academic and English requirement, they would obviously have to choose the RBS upGrad pathway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So to make my point more clearer to all of you who are present, if you are opting for a general Australian regular degree on campus right after your grade 12th, it may start as late as February for you to get a visa and then start on campus. And in the RBS option, because we're not needing your 12th final result, by February, you're actually in the second year. That's the amount of time that you're trying to save. And that means the world. If you want to build a life abroad, if you're looking for a successful work life and academic life abroad, time is of utmost importance. So you're actually saving the whole 1 year of your academic studies. At this point, I think I'd love to go to Stephanie again and ask her, what are some of the options that these students have? We'd love to know about James Cook. We'd love to know about Griffith University as well, after they complete the first 8 months.
I think Shrikant's actually better placed to answer that because he works in the university sector. So I might just get to the, back one, to this slide here where he can talk about that.
Sure. Thank you, Stephanie. So once the students complete the first 2 clusters, they have a variety of choice. Number one, getting into a bachelor is not just about choosing a Bachelor of Business, but they actually can specialize in different fields from either JCU or Griffith University. And as you can see on the slide, we do plan to sign up some more agreements, which will mean in time to come, there will be options beyond JCU and Griffith University to complete your bachelor program. So if you're able to see point number 4, it just provides you a sample of some of the programs. Like there's a Bachelor of Business, there's Bachelor of Commerce, Bachelor of Information Technology, there's Tourism, Hospitality and Events, Bachelor of Social Work, and that's just to name a few at JCU. So there are a whole bunch of programs that students can actually get into after completing their RBS or the first 2 clusters. So in essence, the advantage is that you are getting an entry into an Australian bachelor degree and not limiting yourself to just one particular stream of study. You have still as many options as any other student would have who would go for a direct bachelor program in Australia. I'm not going to talk about the last point because Stephanie's mentioned that the students they will be very well prepared for further study while they're studying the Russo Business School diploma. The one very significant advantage, which you will not find anywhere on Google, anywhere in the books, is that often when students apply for a bachelor program directly without any kind of pathway, they apply for the visa, and when the immigration department assesses the visa, for them it's a new student going into a new country. But when you choose the Russo Business School diploma leading to the JCU or Griffith University bachelor, in more ways than one, you're actually demonstrating with evidence that you are a very genuine student because you've completed part of that program already sitting in your home country. And you've actually got some sort of a certification for that, your transcript, for example. And that actually adds a lot of value that makes your visa process a little more straightforward than students going directly for a bachelor program. Now, the visa process, students might be aware, it's not a very straightforward process. It's quite complex. And anything that can make it easy is a bonus for you. And this is one of those bonus points that you earn at RBS.
So what you're largely implying is that these students have a greater probability, a greater likelihood of getting a visa over a regular student who's starting on campus from day 1, because they've already demonstrated that they're more likely to ease or adapt to the rigor in Australia and are more genuine in their intention. Yes. And I think for most international students who are aspiring to study in Australia, I think one of the primary concerns is the GTE requirements. I think both ways, you are more equipped and more likely to get a visa than any other regular student. I think what I love and what I think makes the most amount of sense for students at this point is your 1 year of general course curriculum at Russo allows you to choose between 10 different degrees after those 8 months that you initially spend, 4 months in India, 4 months on campus in Australia. And then you finally decide which specialization or which degree program am I the most suitable for? Some of these programs, as I can see, are on the skilled occupation list. I would at this point love to jump to Stephanie and ask her, what is the significance of an SOL? And what does it mean for an Indian student, the skilled occupation list? Now, I'm not sure how much can you talk about it, but just to give these kids a general idea on what that means, Stephanie.
So once again, Shrikant's probably more qualified than me to talk about this, but essentially a skilled occupation list is the areas where Australia, our Australian government is recognising that we don't have the ability to fill a number of vacancies ourselves with Australian workers. And we're very interested in having skilled people from other nationalities to come to Australia to work in those occupations. So I believe that helps with that visa application as well, and the work rights afterwards, and even the potential for permanent residency if you've got skills in those areas which are listed as skilled occupation areas. Did you want to add to that, Shrikant? Because I know this is an area you work in more than I do.
Yeah, no, you cover that well, Stephanie. And I think, essentially this is more of, a map for students, for future students, where they can actually access this. This is available on the internet. If you Google Skilled Occupation List Australia, you'll actually find it. And it enlists all the occupations which are in demand. And, they are reviewed every 6 months, but generally speaking, engineering, information technology, accountant, these are some of the top fields in which there's always a shortage of skills in Australia. So if you're looking to do an Rbs Diploma, and like Praniti pointed out, you can choose your specialization later, you can actually sort of wait and watch, how the SOL is panning out, and then choose the right occupation, right skill, rather field of study, so that you're able to get a job once you finish your study in Australia.
Pranita, I might also drop to just another service which Russo Business School offers that is not available at other institutions. And I just invite Quentin Underhill, who's our manager of operations and standards and also heads up our learning centre, to give a bit of an overview of our employment company called JobLinks and what it does and how it fits in with this employment conversation.
Got that.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome everybody to our webinar. JobLinks is a free service, and it's something very unique to Russo Business School, and then interlinks with James Cook University, Brisbane as well. So Juliana, who is in that centre, lovely lady who will spend that time with you so that you can talk through your options. She's really experienced in career counselling, so she can assist you to promote yourselves through a resume and a series of cover letters to suit. She can look at the course or the program that you're actually doing, and looking at anything that's really key in that program that you can then put through into the workplace, and she can develop your profile that way. So she's really skilled in that, but she can look at your short-term and long-term goals, so she can tailor everything so that you're in a best position to be able to market yourself in the Brisbane marketplace. We've also got opportunities where she could access you into some short training programs. So it might be some skills like coffee making or some basic hospitality skills, responsible service of alcohol. And they're very important skills to have if you're going into those types of hospitality roles. But that's just one of many of the things that is possible there. Now, what she can do also is initially for Russo Business School students is to look at, when you're onshore, is to look at what they call casual work here in Australia. We can look at work experience. So that's an unpaid situation where you can really go into your specialised areas. And then when you transition into James Cook University Brisbane campus, an internship is possible, because that can be a unique part of your bachelor program in your final year. So cut a long story short, Juliana's there. She can actually start working with you in an online capacity prior to transitioning to Australia. So you've got a little bit of a head start. And she's very familiar with working with our students online, given what we've experienced in the last couple of years. So we hope that that this service, as unique it is, can really help our students.
That largely ensures that as soon as they transition on campus at Russo, they are given support for part-time work, which is extremely essential to gather or secure enough funds to ensure that your living expenses are being met, that you're bringing the cost of your year one education down by almost more than 60%. Instead of paying about 20 close lakhs, you're spending about 8 lakhs in doing the complete 1 year in Australia. Instead of doing a degree for 60 lakhs, you're bringing the cost of your degree down to less than 30 lakhs. That's the affordability that Russo options gives, that the Russo option gives you. I think on top of that, what's largely meant to be understood by attendees here is Russo helps you save time. Within 4 months, when you're even at the stage of applying for a visa, you're already through with half the curriculum of year one in Australia. And by the time you reach Australia, you are expediting your complete year one by almost 4 months. You're completing the entire year in 8 months instead of 12. So that's what largely is essential. I think, Stephanie, there are 2 things I'd love for you to touch upon with Srikanth. One is the kind of job progression there are. And second, would love to clear this out, that would these kids be getting a dual certification? Would you certify for a diploma and a degree from the university?
So when they graduate from Russo Business School, they will take out a diploma. And then when they go into university, that will then be what we call a credit transfer on their academic record. So it will say they've received credit for this many units. They'll then complete the remainder of the degree with the university of their choice and then take out the university degree. So there's no surrendering of the diploma or anything like that. You've got a standalone qualification and then you'll get the degree at the end of that.
So which means there's a dual certification for students with a diploma of business followed by a degree, yes?
Essentially, yes. Yes, they obviously get the diploma much earlier when they've met the requirements for that, and then the degree a couple of years later after that.
Got that. I think would also love for Srikanth to cover the kind of cost that a student is likely to incur with RBS, and how are jobs going to be like, as in how much is the employability and how much is the return on investment that a child ends up with?
That's a good question. So most students would ask the question, what happens, we're investing Indian currency, 25, 30 lakhs, and how do we recover the money? How do we, earn all the money, repay the loan and whatnot? So there are a couple of things in this to understand. One is that the students actually work part-time, 40 hours a fortnight. So their living expenses are actually managed, by themselves, because they're working part-time, and what you earn during those 40 hours is sufficient for you to manage your day-to-day living costs. Now, as you can see on the slide, point 3, it says post-study work visa, 2-year stay opportunity. Every student who completes the bachelor degree and remains in Australia as a student for 2 years qualifies for a post-study work visa of 2 years, during which time they can actually work full-time and earn as much as you can see, average starting graduate salaries about $60,000 to $65,000. Now, if I convert that into Indian currency, you're talking about mathematics, about 30 lakhs. Indian, that's per year. Now, if you look at 2 years of earning, that's about 60 lakhs. And then obviously you're going to spend some of that on your living expense and other costs. You still save sufficient money to repay majority of your education loan, if not entirely. Now, that's the trend that we see when we speak to students. They would usually say it takes about 2 to 3 years to earn all the money and repay the loan, education loan, which is what 90% students do. So from that sense, literally after graduating 2 years down the line, you are now earning without having to repay the loan or repay your father, your parents, if that's the case. So, you know, it's the biggest advantage really over here is that you're saving initial costs via going through the RBS upgrad, and it doesn't disqualify you from the post-study work visa. You still obtain the post-study work visa. You make 60 to 65 grand a year, and you're all set, you know, to move on from there. So that's really how the cost factor plays. And having, you know, studied in Australia myself, I can tell you, it's exactly how it goes. It's never changed because part-time job, like I said, is easy to get. Quentin also spoke about how JobLinks helps you with obtaining jobs. That's a service which I would say stands out. You know, you talk about scholarship, you talk about good academic, you know, teaching quality, but JobLinks really hits the nail on the head. And I've experienced that as a student 15 years ago. It's got even better from then. So something I can vouch for, Pranit.
Got that. I think now is a good time to talk about the kind of jobs that students actually get, as in what kind of firms do actually recruit them. And for a student planning a long time career in Australia, you mentioned the amount of salary that they will get and that they are likely to recover the cost in as little as 1.5 years after they go through a complete education for the 3-year bachelor degree. What are some of the companies that normally these kids are going to be working with? But also, how much is the employability like for RBS and Griffith when students actually, you know, I mean, for a general graduate of James Cook or of any university in the state of Queensland, how much is the general employability like?
Well, employment at the moment in Queensland is around 4%. So unemployment, sorry, is around 4%. So it's labour is very much in demand in Queensland at the moment. And as you might know, we've also got a lot of work, capital work happening in the city as we lead up to the 2032 Olympics, which are happening. So we're seeing massive growth in that tourism hospitality area coming out of COVID, as well as a number of other service areas. I might defer to Jennifer and Quentin also, who've had a long history with Russo Business School and James Cook University, Brisbane, so know where the graduates have found employment after completing their degree.
Look, I might start off with a little bit here, is that JobLinks recently had some figures released, and graduates coming through James Cook University, Brisbane in particular, over 90% success rate in terms of employability job outcomes that way. We work with, probably from memory here, over 200 plus organisations ranging through hospitality, through into business areas, law, accounting, etc., whether it be PwC, KPMG, just to name a few. So we've got a very, really good profile list of organisations that we work with, keeping in mind that we're part of the Serena Russo group. So we've got that entrepreneurial mindset. We're linked in with so many organisations, and JobLinks, for want of a better word, leverages off those organisations the greater group has connections with. So rather than talk about specific organisations, which I have a little bit there, is that we've got breadth and depth in terms of the contacts that we have, And as I was saying earlier, the important thing here is that the students connect with job links, they prepare for their career success by talking and working with Juliana. And that's the best way for success. So they need to be involved. They need to look at work experience opportunities, part-time, casual work opportunities. And then as they get further into their degree, is that they've got some sort of depth as well in terms of experience so that they can convert that into an internship. And some really good opportunities have springboarded out of those internships where a high number of students have actually retained employment through their internship employer, which is really fantastic.
I might actually, if I may, Quinton, thank you very much for adding all these lovely points. Just one thing I just wanted to add here is that a lot of our graduates as well earn an opportunity actually with our own organization, which is the Sauna Russo Group. Just this year itself, we have actually recruited about, I think, 15 newly graduate students who have joined our own company. So we are #1 leading company in Australia as well, who provides job opportunities. So we actually give our own students the opportunity to join our own business as well. Just wanted to highlight that point. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent point, Jennifer. Thank you.
Got that. I think would love for Stephanie to take us through the admission criteria that we're following for Russo Business School. And meanwhile, I invite everybody, all the attendees, to ask any questions that they have regarding Russo as Stephanie takes us through the campus. She takes us through the criteria. Any question is more than welcome if you have it about Griffith, James Cook, the state of Queensland, and how higher education looks like in Australia. Anything at all, we welcome that. Please feel free to ask us and put that down on the Q&A button. Stephanie would love for you to take us through the campus and anything extra that you want to cover with regards to academia. And then finally, the admissions criteria, Stephanie.
Okay, so what I thought would be really useful is for Jennifer as our program manager to actually talk through our delivery model and how we go about delivering the diploma, how we, what the assessment is and how we're doing it. And then I think we can go to those, to the admission criteria, but I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity to get to that. I'm not sure why I just got a poll, but there you go. Trying to get rid of that. So Jennifer, over to you.
Okay. Our diploma pedagogy strategy has been designed to ensure that our teaching and learning practice assists our students to graduate with business acumen skills and become entrepreneur, or further their study into their second year bachelor degree that Stephanie and Shrikant has mentioned earlier. So everything we do at RBS is student-centered. As you can see, everything is right there in the center, and we are all about student outcomes. So we provide a very high quality diploma program with clear defined purpose, learning outcomes, and also looking into the 21st century contemporary learning content. Our diploma is fully accredited and meet all the Australian legal compliance and standards. So our teaching and learning are mainly focused on 4 main categories, as you can see here. So we have the applied learning curriculum, our pedagogy, we have authentic assessment, and also our people and culture resources that helps for our students to get this great education. So if you look at our applied learning curriculum, it is flexible, interactive, and very inclusive with an entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial-driven curriculum. We have in-house virtual simulated business that provide our students with the opportunity to apply their learning. So our curriculum comes with embedded employability skills. We'll talk a lot about that today. That supports our students to be job ready while studying. So we have business expert guest speakers who come into our sessions to present real life cases studies. And we also, as you know, we live in a very complex global world, and finding contemporary and progressive educational content is our priority. So if we just move into our pedagogy, meaning just how we facilitate the development of our students' knowledge, skills, and attributes in order to enhance their own capacity for independent, collaborative, and lifelong learning. So here at Russo Business School, we have pretty much designed a world-class delivery programs, as you can see, using the distributed learning approach with latest technology to facilitate learning, whether on or off campus, in real time, online, or at the student's own discretion. So we use a range of delivery methods, as you can see, including synchronous, asynchronous, to provide this flexibility of learning to our students. As you can see on the slide as well, we have a very integrated, collaborative, and active pedagogies that we use in class. We use our learning management system and e-learning platform called Blackboard, and also TablePad. And students can access the material 24/7 a day, every day, wherever they are, as long as they can actually access the internet, they can engage with our content. We also have a lot of game-based learning within our delivery as a way of creating a culture of inquiry, curiosity, and a fun learning environment as well for our students to enjoy their learning journey with us. We use a lot of interactive tools such as you can see, Padlet, Kahoot. So these are just a few of the tools that we embed within our pedagogy to just embrace that interactive with our students. And of course, we have a few collaborative learning tools where students can actually come together, whether they're online or they're face-to-face, wherever they are, they can actually just collaborate with each other anytime. Just moving on to our authentics. So pretty much how our students demonstrate their learning is through our authentic assessment. So to ensure fair assessment is carried out at our school, we use both formative and summative assessment throughout the study period of the student. So this actually ensures that the student can apply and demonstrate what they are learning as they progress. It gives us also the opportunity to identify any student who may need extra support and help to improve their academic progress. So we use formative assessment to help students to learn and to practice. And then we use summative assessment, of course, to formally assess our student performance. So as you can see, the assessment can be in form of problem-based assessment, quizzes, etc. As you can see, there's a long list there. So this just gives us that flexibility of looking into the progress of the student. And our assessment is also designed across all the 8 subjects in a scaffolding manner, where they are interlinked and built upon each other to give students the opportunity to apply the learning and demonstrate the understanding, gaining those fundamental business acumen that Stephanie has highlighted earlier as well. So, and bring everything together is our people. So we ensure our teaching standards are consistently a very high level, which bring to our last category of making sure we have the best student outcome for our students. So that's all from me, Stephanie. Thank you.
And Shrikant, do you just want to talk about the entrance requirements and the next steps, basically, for students that are interested in taking the next step and moving forward?
Absolutely, and we'd love to know the kind of scholarships that James Cook will offer to students, and what does that depend on, in addition to the general admission criteria for Russo?
Cool. So in essence, our scholarship, you can expect up to 25% scholarship on your bachelor tuition fee. Usually that basically means you would have to obviously achieve a higher grade than the minimum entry. So if the minimum entry was 65%, your scholarship criteria would be somewhere around 70%. That's generally what it is to obtain a scholarship. In you also need to be a genuine temporary entrant. So we assess you. We might be conducting an interview with you on the phone, and then confirm that you have qualified for a scholarship. But yes, 25% is a significant saving again. We saw in previous slides, $60,000 was the total approximately, and you apply 25% on that. That's that's at least $10,000 saving right there.
I would also want you to cover the general admission criteria for Russo, Srikanth.
Yeah, so year 12 students can actually get in if they have scored 50% or above in the year 12. And in terms of the English entry, they need to score a 5.5 overall, no band less than 5. So these are the two main criteria, speaking more of Indian students. And I did see a couple of questions on the gap here. I probably just want to address that before it comes up. So there's no really need to worry about the gap year. If you've been doing some program, or if you've been working in some company, it doesn't matter when you finished your year 12. You're still welcome. You're still welcome to apply to Russo Business School.
Got that. And would the same apply to a degree also, if these were regular students?
Look, a good question. For degree, it's a little strict because, again, we look at the percentage requirement is high. The gap year, again, we would expect that you do not have more than, X number of years as a gap. So it can get a bit more difficult when applying for a degree program.
Got that. We have a question here by Neelima. How much scholarship will I get, and how much fee I have to pay? So the scholarship that James Cook will offer you is about 25%. So your first year fee is 2.5 lakhs for the first 4 months. When you transfer to Russo, you pay almost close to about 5.5 lakhs. So that's 8 lakhs for the first year, equivalent to some of the private universities in India, and the extortionate amount of money they charge. The second and third year fee with a 25% scholarship at James Cook should ideally be about close to, say, about 21 to 22,000 Australian dollars. That's about 10 lakhs close of money. So 8 lakhs for the first year, and about 10 to 11 lakhs for the next 2 years. So in total, a degree that usually in Australia will cost you about 60 lakhs is now costing you about 28 to 29 lakhs. That's less than 50%. I hope I answered that, Neelima, for you. So just clicking on answer live. I think my final one to Srikanth and Stephanie would be, in general for Queensland, I want to ask you how much or how lucrative is the job market, and which industries are thriving in the state of Queensland?
I actually have a slide on this. So I will go back to that, and potentially my colleague Abby can help with this. But the areas which are identified in Queensland as our growth area are scientific innovation, mining, not necessarily not in Brisbane, but in other parts of Queensland, the mining industry, technology, lots around biotechnology, as well as data technology, information technology, advanced manufacturing. Higher education is also a very, universities and institutes of higher education is a large industry. Tourism, of course, and Brisbane's located 1 hour from the Gold Coast, which I'm sure everyone knows. And hospitality is a very big industry in the southeast corner, as well as in Cairns and the northern coast. But Abhijit, I'm not sure if you wanted to add in anything here from your knowledge of the Brisbane economy. Abhijit is our program coordinator for entrepreneurship, and is also a young Indian living and working in Brisbane.
Hey guys, welcome to the webinar. Yeah, like in terms of the job economy and job market in Brisbane, it's definitely growing in consideration to a lot of other states, especially because last year during COVID, a lot of the other states were in lockdown for a longer period of time. Therefore, the job market in Brisbane did grow significantly because more things were open and accessible. To the state of Queensland, especially southeast Queensland, like your Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and Brisbane, had a higher percentage of job intake, especially in big companies like your Ernst & Young's, your Deloitte's, and your PwC's, which are multinational companies and are also based in India as well. So that's a benefit of studying and working in Queensland. So that's my little input there in terms of the job economy and market in Queensland.
Yeah, so I think for the most of the thriving industries you mentioned, Shrikant did have a course in almost all of them. We had a course in IT, had a course in hospitality, of course, have multiple specializations in business courses also. So I think whenever a student tries to choose the right degree for him, should keep an account the kind of industries that are thriving and offer a supportive ecosystem in that place to build a lucrative career for themselves. I think Stephanie and Shrikant, we have a question here. What are the course clusters, and are they sort of a pre-course from which we will be going into JCU? So I think I push this to Stephanie. How is the year one divided? And she wants to know, why do we use a different terminology than saying simple subjects? Also, to give you a little bit of context, so I'm not sure who asked that because the name is not mentioned, but every Australian year is built up of 8 subjects. So in a bachelor degree of 3 years, you'd have 24 subjects that you're going to be covering. So with the Russo School, I think Stephanie is the better person to take you through how they've been divided. But these are not pre-courses. These are proper year one courses articulated.
Yes, they are. So the numbers underneath, RH1000, RH1005, they're the subject codes, and they're all first year subjects. So you'll see most of those types of subjects in the first year of most university bachelor's degrees, especially in business or commerce. The one thing we do offer that potentially isn't in other business courses is business law. Sometimes that isn't included in the first year. The reason we've actually grouped these together is really a little bit of forward thinking, in that we think that people potentially in our Australian market, but potentially also internationally, might be interested in doing these clusters as separate little offerings, not completing the full course, but actually coming in and developing skill sets that they can then use in their business or in their career, and then maybe come back at another day or put those towards another degree at another institution. So we're really, as we put this together, we're sort of thinking about how it might be pulled apart, or also how people are now looking for little skill sets as opposed to full degrees. And that also plays into our ethos around lifelong learning, and that the Rbs Diploma is the start, not the end of a journey. And even when you are a successful business owner or leader, you still need, you still want to be learning things. There's never an end point to that. And so that's why we have organised it in this way. It's still 8 subjects, but it's just that we've chosen to group them together.
Absolutely. I think that does clear out what she had asked. So this is just an autonomous terminology that a school has chosen to structure the course in any which way these are first 8 subjects, which means these are 8 subjects out of the 24 that James Cook would also teach a regular student. It's just that you're being taught all of those 8 through RBS. How they're called or how they're structured would not really matter so much as long as they're articulated and they're mapped, which they are. But a good part of Russo is that you have a flexible option of doing some part in India, some part on campus in Brisbane, getting a diploma, and then finally getting a double or dual or secondary certification as a degree holder as well. So, does address your needs in every which way. You are more qualified than a usual student. You end the degree a lot faster, and you're spending so much more lesser than a regular student in Australia. So Stephanie's Russo program does address all of these things. I think now is a great time for you to be asking any other doubts, concerns, or queries that you may have. We did manage to address all of those that came our way. Shrikant has been very forthright about gap years, and that if you got 2 or 3 or 4 gap years, as long as you can reason them out or rationalize them with work experience, which is documented, which has clear proofs, you can enter into Russo. I think at this point would also love to put my email address down the chat box for all of you to ask me any questions at all, should you have. It's praneet.singh@upgrad.com. I think Stephanie and the entire RBS team, Shrikant, it has been lovely hosting you. I'm sure that, Russo is going to be a major option for students who are aspiring to study in Australia in terms of the value that it has to offer to regular kids. Would love to know any, final words that you both have.
Thank you so much, Praneet. It's just been fantastic to be able to talk about our program, and obviously to have my colleagues involved in the discussion as well. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. I am available to take any more questions. We did put there is an email on the final slide, if I can find it, just info@rbs.qld.edu.au, and we will be able to respond with any inquiries, or of course through Praneet and upGrad, who'll be front and center in being your liaison point, and also our Indian admissions team and Southeast Asia team as well. And I'll pass over to Shrikant for any final words.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Praneet, for hosting such a wonderful session. We are absolutely delighted to present this new pathway program for students in India, and of course, making top quality education accessible to Indian students who just about miss the entry requirements or don't make it with the IELTS score. But we're looking forward to welcoming all your students, Praneet, via upGrad, and happy to help if there are any more questions.
Absolutely. So all the attendees, please feel free to ask or put down any query, any concern, any doubt that you may have to my email address, and I will make sure that it reaches Stephanie and Shrikant. They can answer it for you. I think in India, we saw that the delay in last year's board exam results went on until October, which is what delayed the admissions all the way by almost a year. In order to avoid that, because we are along the same lines, we're now releasing the final result by July, and we're trying to come up with this, and this will ensure that you save at least not just at least 6 months, but a complete year that you may end up wasting if you were a regular student applying for a visa after July. And time really does make a lot of difference. So make sure that you're always choosing something that's more democratic and gives you the leeway to choose between how much funds you want to deploy, which course do you finally want to pick, and which industry. Like Stephanie mentioned, SOL is a recurring and is a list that changes in real time. And so when you are starting with Russo in the first 8 months, that gives you about another chance to look at the SOL before you finally make an informed call on which degree and which specialization. My special thanks once again to the Russo and James Cook team. I think all of our attendees, whether they're watching us live on Facebook or whether they're here with us or whether they will watch this on YouTube, will be thrilled to know that Griffith and James Cook, both of which actually form the top 1 or 2% of the universities, are offering this pathway. And from day one, students are going to be associated with an Australian institution. Thanks, everybody, and we wish you a great weekend ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Bye, Praneeth. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.